Hello wonderful people, it's Wild here. Today I'll be showing you how to build this moss tower. This whimsical build is stylish but surprisingly easy to create, so let's get building. The materials you'll need for this build are on your screen now. You'll need a variety of flowers and it's up to you what you use. Here is the outline for today's build. You can see it's essentially a 7x7 square with some sections marked in for some birch posts. Keep in mind that this is going to be the front of the build as we're creating it, so our door will be on this side. We're going to begin our build using some stripped birch logs, and I'm going to build up 6 high in each of these post locations. So you can see that there'll be 2 on each face, which is spaced 3 blocks apart. Like that, and you can see it forms a circle. We're using these birch logs to create a circular shape to our tower, so when we go in with our walls using some mossy and regular stone brick, we're going to build in a square shape, allowing the posts to make the build a circle. So let's start on the front wall here. We need to build up just 1 block so we can have our door, and then I'm going to create my door frame, mixing in just as much mossy stone brick as I like as I go along. So I've first created a frame for the door, then I'm going to build up the rest of the height, leaving in a little gap for a window, like that. Then I can fill in these corners in behind here, just using some mossy and regular stone brick. And of course, these sections behind the birch posts aren't going to be visible from the outside, but I still want to mix in some of this mossy stone brick because you'll be able to see it from the inside of the build. And then I come to another wall where we're having a window. So for these windows, I'm going to build up 2 high. And then leave a gap which is 3 blocks high for my window. But I'll then continue to frame out the rest of the wall like this. And I'll do the same thing on the other 3 faces, remembering to fill in these corners as I go. Alright, so you can see we've got the first layer of walls in. From above, the shape is rounded off with our posts and we've got a square inner wall. Now we're going to go in with some more birch to keep rounding off the shape and add some more detail to these walls. I'm going to come out of either direction of each of these posts like this. And make sure the ones in the corners are facing each other. I'm then going to come down to the bottom and place in 2 of the stripped birch logs in each of these faces. Now I'm going to switch to some birch stairs. I'm placing the birch stairs facing towards each other in the corners on both the top and the bottom. And then on the faces, I'm going to place a stair here and here, and then at the top as well. So it's creating a curved frame type shape. To round off this frame even more, I'm going to add a birch trapdoor at the top, and then facing upwards and downwards on each of the sides like this. When we come around to the front, I'm going to add a stair facing forward so we can access our door, and once I go in with our birch trapdoors. Got one more side to do here. And you can see the shape really starting to come together. Now I'm going to switch over to some spruce materials, and we're starting by placing in some planters. I'm using some rooted dirt here, although you could use some coarse dirt if you don't have rooted dirt, and you can see I'm placing these in front of each of the posts and underneath each of the windows. Of course you won't fit one at the front as there's a door here, but I'm then going to surround each of these planters with some spruce trapdoors. I really like the juxtaposition of the darker wood with the birch, and the fact that we are mixing both cool tones in the moss and the stone with the warm tones of the wood. It really adds to a completed rounded look for the build, and that's what we want. Okay, once all those planters are in, I'm going to switch to some spruce stairs, and we're going to start adding in the balcony and the floor for this top level. I'm using a spruce plank just so I can place in my first stair, and then I'm going to follow around the outline of the build here. So I'm coming one over the edge of this birch log, and then coming over in my diagonal, and then continuing my way all the way around the circle. Now that I'm all the way around, I'm going to switch to some spruce planks, and I'm first going to fill in the floor on the lower level. And then I'm going to fill in this floor level here. Now keep in mind I will be going in and breaking in a hole for a ladder once we have the upper part of the tower in. Just like that. Now I'm going to go in and create a banister. So I'm using some moss blocks here, and I'm placing these on the block above the sections of the birch beam that poke out like this. So it should be one in from either edge. We should have 8 moss blocks. Then I'm going to use some spruce fences and fence gates, and I'm going to alternate between the 2 on the flat faces, like that. And then for the diagonals, I'll just wave my way over using the fences. Like that. To finish off the look of this banister, I'm going to go in with some birch trapdoors, just placing these on each of the moss blocks. And now that that's done, we can start working on the second story of the tower. I'm going to find my center block here, and I'm just going to mark this in with some birch stairs. You don't have to use birch stairs, you can mark it in with whatever block you have on hand. I'm then going to count 2 blocks out to each side and mark it in with either a stone brick or a mossy stone brick. When it comes to marking in the front, I'll count 2 blocks out and then 1 to either side like this. So you can see we've currently got 5 markers in, and I'm going to start joining these up to create a circle. So either side of the 1 blocks, I'm going to go in with another stone brick or mossy stone brick, just mixing them up to create a nice texture. And with any kind of randomization, you want to be looking at it as you go and be prepared to make some changes. And then I'm just going to fill in the corners. Like that, so you can see we can have a circle with a door at the front. Now we're going to be working on building up these walls, and we'll be working in faces because this tower has windows at different heights depending on each wall. I'm going to start on the front here by adding in a door frame. Just like that. I'll then come above it and leave a 2 block gap for my window. like this, and then finish off the wall by building one more block on top. Now I'm going to come to the right hand side and I'm going to switch to some white stained glass and build up 3 high for a window, and then using the stone brick to complete the wall here. I'll then go to the left side and I'll add 1 block on top of what we've already got, then build a 3 high window out of my glass, and then finish off the wall. So here's what we've got looking from the front. Now I'm going to rotate round to the right hand side and I'm going to build up 2 on top of what we've already gotten. So we've got a 3 high wall here. Then I'm going to leave a 2 block gap for my window. And then I'll just finish off the top of this wall. For this corner window, I'm going to build 1 more up and then add in a 3 high window and finish off the wall. And then I'll rotate round to the back. On the back, I'll just build up 1 higher and leave a 2 high gap for my window. And then just fill in the rest of the wall here. Like this. On this side, I'll build up 2 more and add in a 3 high window. So this is the highest of all of our windows on the diagonal sides. And then to fill in our final wall, I'll just build 1 more block on top and leave a 3 high gap for my window. We've got 1, 2, 3. I'll need to fill in 1 more just here. So let's have a look at this from all the other sides. You can see the staggered windows give this build a whimsical look, and I'm just going to fill in all the windows on the flat faces with some white stained glass panes. I'll then come down to the lower level and I'll use my white stained glass to fill in the windows down here. Next, I'm going to go inside the build and switch to some oak trapdoors, and I'm going to place these behind each window. And I'll come up to the top story as well, and on all of the diagonal windows, I'm going to do the same thing, placing in some oak trapdoors. You can see that from the outside, this gives a more detailed, almost leaded look to the windows. Now we want to start adding some details to this story of the tower. I'm going to start with my door, just using some birch stairs on either side and a birch slab to create a little archway. I'm going to place a flower pot with an azalea on top of this, and I'm going to decorate the window above it using some trapdoors and 1 more birch slab. So it should look like that. I'm going to create a similar decoration on the other windows like this, just adding a slab above and below, a flower pot and a flowering azalea, and then using some spruce trapdoors for some window shutters. Of course, on the 3 high window, you'll need to extend the window shutters to fit. Like this. Next, I'm going to come inside of my tower and I'm going to find the side that I want my ladder on. I think I want my ladder coming up right near the entrance here. So I'm going to break a hole and then I'm going to go down to the bottom story and add a ladder going all the way up till I pop up here. Now I want to continue having a ladder go up to the top. But since we've got our trapdoors blocking off the walls here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some spruce trapdoors. And you can see I'm placing these on top of one another, and they're on this block here. And that'll allow me to place some ladders on the face of them like this. So I'm just going to place in my trapdoors all the way up to the height of this section of the tower. And place my ladders on top. I'll then go in and around this with some stone brick slabs. And I'll place a slab on top of the back of here like this. So now we have access to all of our layers with ladders, and I'm going to come inside the build and place a spruce door here. That way it's kind of got a frame when you look from the outside. I'm also going to be placing a spruce door on the lower level as well, once again placing it from the inside to create that framed door look. While we're down here in front of the door, I'm going to place a spruce trapdoor on the glass block so that way I can hang a lantern from underneath. Now I've moved up to the top of the build and we're going to start adding in the roof, beginning with some framing. Now I want the bottom of this roof to have a wavy look that goes up and down along the bottom. So I'm going to start with a spruce stair, which I'm placing upside down above this window on the front here. You can see that there is only a half slab gap between it and the window frame. Then I'm going to go on with a spruce slab next to this, and then one up on the diagonal like this. I'll come back down to fill in this diagonal, and then back up again. Next to it, I'm going to have a right way up stair, and then I'm going to go back and repeat this pattern all the way around. So upside down stair, slab, slab upwards, slab downwards, slab upwards again, right way up stair, and back to the start of the pattern. If you're enjoying today's tutorial, I'd really appreciate if you consider subscribing. It helps me out and you'll get to see lots more tutorials just like this one. And finally, I'm going to be finishing with my stair here at the front. So you can see that it's got a nice wavy texture to it, and that'll become more obvious as we start adding in more of the roof. For the rest of the framing, I'm going to be using some birch planks. I'm going to build up 2 high on top of each of the centers of these waves, so that's next to these stairs here. Then I'm going to come back in and build up 2 high again. And we're working to form a point here with this birch. I'll do that one more time. And then this next time, I'm going to build up 3 high. And finally, I'll finish off the point by adding another 3 high section. Now I'm going to go in with some birch fences. I'll go 1, 1, 2, 2. And I'll do that on all of the sides. 1, 1, 2, 2. 1, 1, 2, 2. 1, 1, 2, 2. And then I'm going to finish off with 3 on the very top of the tower. You can see this is creating a really nice point shape, and now we need to fill in the gaps with some moss. So to begin filling in with the moss, I'm going to come to the opposite side to where we have these stairs and just place in 1 block. Like that. Now we're going to come behind it like this and create a little Tetris shape like that. And I'll do it in both directions. And going all the way around. You can see I'm just using another moss block as a placeholder here, but you can use another block like dirt as a placeholder to help you in building your roof. Here's what we've got so far. Now to fill in these corners, I'm going to come back in one like this, and then create the same sort of Tetris shape to fill it in. And each side is the same. And then finally, to fill in these corners, I'm just going to place in 2 blocks. Now let's take a step back and look at this roof. You can really see the wavy edge now and the wonderful green moss. Now we're going to add in some more small details, starting with some spruce buttons, which I'm going to place on each of these birch planks. The small details really bring a build together, so it's important not to forget them. I'm going to add in some spruce fences next, and I'm adding these in the joins between these two beams. You can see that it's placed underneath the stairs on the diagonal. And next I'm going to switch some chains with lanterns, and I'm going to hang these lanterns at various heights all the way around the build. Like that. I'm then going to come up above these windows and once again hang my lanterns at some different heights. Keep in mind the height of the windows when you're hanging these lanterns. And don't forget to take a step back to have a look at how your lanterns hang. I'm really happy with the distribution there. Now we're going to start adding some greenery, and for this I'll be using some flowering azaleas, some flowering azalea leaves, peonies, lilacs, oxeye daisies, lily of the valley, pink tulips, alliums, and some small drip leaves. Now you can use whatever greenery you like. I really like the colours of these ones and how they work with the moss, but you can definitely change these out for flowers that suit your style. I'm going to start by adding the tall flowers as well as the flowering azalea leaf and bush to these pot plants in front of the posts. And I'm just going to switch them out as I see fit, all the way around the build. I like to try to avoid having, say, an azalea bush right next to another azalea bush. And so I like to take a step back and look at it from different angles. Have a look from around this side. Okay, I think that's good. Now I'm going to use some of the shorter flowers like the oxeye daisy, the pink tulip, and the allium to place underneath each of these windows. Like that. I'm going to come up to the next story and I'm going to use a mixture of all of these to add on top of the moss blocks here on the banister, using both the tall and the short flowers. And I'm also making sure I don't have the same flower above each other on the lower and upper level here. That way it creates more interest because you can see different types of flowers from different angles. I think that looks really pretty. And I'm also going to continue adding these on top of the roof, even mixing in some of these small drip leaves. I like to go in with one of the types of greenery at a time, and then I can always change up the distribution once I've got a few of them placed in. Now up here, I tend to use mainly the flowers and leave out the azalea bushes, as they have quite a boxy shape, and that'll change up the shape of the roof itself. Whereas using the flowers, which have more of an organic shape, it can really add some shaping and dimension to the roof here. Alright, so I've finished adding some greenery to the top of my roof here, and I've also gone ahead and decorated around my build. So let's look at how you could decorate your moss tower. Now for this build, since it is a pretty neutral coloured build with greens and a little hint of pink and purple here and there, I wanted to keep the decorations around the exterior neutral as well. That way, the details in the build and the little pops of colour stand out. So I've used white flowers surrounding just the pathways, and I've had these pathways meander all the way around the build. I've got one going to the door, one leading over to a little well here, and then one leading over to an area with some seating. I added a feature fountain here, and the movement of the water works really well alongside of this build. And you can see that I've actually placed this build along a riverside, which is why I've placed the fountain on the left side of the build to balance out the water that we've got on the right hand side. I've added a little bit of a boundary around my build, although I've kept it pretty simple and open, as this build kind of lends itself to that whimsical, naturey feeling. So I've created these boundary markers here that I've just placed in a circular shape around the build. If you'd like to see how I created these decorations, including the fountain and the well, as well as some more ideas for decorating both the interior and the exterior of your moss tower, make sure you check out the tutorial in the description. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing and checking out my Patreon to support me further. And join my Discord to share a picture of your tower. I'd love to see it. See you in another video!